1067 1067. Also have Twitter space come up very shortly. So you can also make use of Twitter as a platform itself. Just ensure to use the hashtag panorama on Splash when you want to send your thoughts via that platform. We'll get started with the issue of the day straight away. Thoughts about Africa has some certain stereotypes or thoughts of sorts that accompany the continent. The continent is usually seen as one that is full of mysteries and plagued with absurd concepts and beliefs. One of such is the process of skin lightening, or if you may, what many regard as bleaching. For what it's worth, this is an age-old practice dating back to the end of the Middle Ages in Europe. It spread from Asia to the American continent. According to the World Health Organization, 40% of African women currently engage in this practice.
A French historian of the Renaissance period, Georges Vigarello, maintained that one of the major criteria for feminine beauty was skin whiteness. A pale complexion was considered a sign of nobility, good health, and elegance. Light skin was associated with the upper classes, denoting people who did not need to work outdoors. To achieve an ideal complexion, women did not hesitate to use lead or mercury. In the 18th century, the appearance of new shades of red in makeup led to a greater acceptance of colors and the idea that beauty could have many faces.
You'd have been forgiven to think that just women are falling victim of the dangerous practice of lightening of one's skin, as men have also engaged in this. Warnings have been issued from medical experts time and again to the danger that exists in this practice. Our issue of the day today is in commemoration of World Skin Health Day, and we'll be looking at this scourge in detail. Dr. Okeolaide, consultant dermatologist and head of department internal medicine, Federal Medical Center, Abeokuta, Ogun State, joins us. Good morning to you, ma'am. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Benga and Lola. Thank you for having me. Good morning, Nigerians.
Great.
Thank you for coming.
Well, I'm sure you heard a bit of the things we said during the course of the prologue and all of that. I mean, what has changed from time immemorial when the scourge of skin lightening started and now? It seems as though it's gotten worse. Why is that the case?
Yeah, thank you once again. One of the reasons why the skin lightening scourge has gotten more, I think, has to do even with improved publicity, social media awareness, and that has also increased people's need to be to lighten their skin for acceptability. And one of the other things you see is the fact that you have celebrities, you have people who are of high personality influencers who also lighten, also make people want to do it. I think that's one of the reasons why you've had it. And the perception generally about it improving attractiveness, about it increasing self-esteem, has always been age-long. And people, time and time again, still think there is a need to lighten the dark skin. So as opportunities come like this, we are trying to emphasize the need to avoid skin lightening as much as possible. I like the introduction that you have given so far, and that, gives a synopsis of the issue of skin lightening.
Can one talk about skin lightening without talking about colorism? And maybe from your perspective as a dermatologist, seeing as this is your specialty, what is the underlying cause or the reason behind wanting to lighten one's skin?
Yeah, so thank you very much. So you have colorism, you have the dark skin, and then you have, when we talk about skin of color, the perception really is that the skin we have, we must know that the pigmentation is, the main reason is because of the melanin that we have.
Right.
And the melanin we have, it's quite protective. It's the same that they have, but we have different types. The type we have projects the dark skin. But dark skin, on the long run, it's quite more protective even than the one that is the light skin from the sun rays, which is quite high around here, and the attendant problems that it has. So over time, over the years, even in people who are light skinned, so it's not just Africans that do lighten their skin. You have Indians, you have other people who feel it's like white skin. It's a perception, really.
And the white skin is more attractive.
Yes, that is more attractive. That is likely to give you better job opportunities. You're likely to be accepted because of it. So the need for people to realize that their color does not define who they are, does not limit what they can achieve, and the fact that any attempt to lighten that skin has its own demerits. Of course, there are times as dermatologists that we do have reasons to apply some lightening intervention, but that's medical conditions. Maybe people have some pimples, have some acne, and then they have some, so that's also for a short time. And one of the important thing, really, I think so for them, colorism, dark skin of color is still just, some people say the skin is not dark, that is actually chocolate colored, just to show that. But some people attribute dark skin to evil, or dark skin to ugliness, and that should not be. Each and every one of us must love our skin, must appreciate that skin, and must keep it glowing, and knowing that it's actually protective that we have the darker skin.
Right. For those who don't know, colorism is discrimination or prejudice against people with a dark skin tone, often among people of the same ethnic or racial group. It has parallels with racism, but it often is, as I said, among people of the same ethnic group. But in the spirit of honesty, though, can one say that, you said it's a perception that light skin is more attractive, but truth is, this is something I have encountered. There are times when, people with darker skin are often shut out of certain opportunities because of the color of their skin, especially in the media. It is only now that with more awareness and enlightenment, you are seeing people sort of push back against that and asking for inclusion and speaking out against discrimination. In the media before, lighter skin used to be more prevalent and predominant and held up as the standard of beauty. And of course, that influenced the generation of people. So can we really have an honest conversation about skin lightening without addressing the fact that there are people who definitely discriminate against people with darker skin, which then leads to people with darker skin thinking the solution is to lighten their skin?
Yeah, thank you very much. There's definitely the challenge, really. That discrimination is there. In fact, sometimes people feel, if you're among people that are light-skinned, either even your fellow ethnic members of light-skinned or other races,
right?
You stand out because you're dark-skinned, and because you do. Some of them also attribute darkness, maybe it's compare you some things that are demeaning, and then the truth is that if a light-skinned person and a dark person goes for a job offer or wants to be the face of a product, most times they tend to go for the light skin. And that's what you're saying, that the emphasis really is for people to realize that you go beyond the skin, to what the person has, to what the person, people are under a lot of pressure to lighten their skin, because if they know that is what brings acceptance to many. Some people say, I cannot marry a dark-skinned person. Things like that are what keeps pushing that discrimination, that keeps pushing that negative self-esteem and the need to look like others, the need to be lighter, the need to, to be accepted. But what we're saying is, because your skin is not naturally light, you have people who are naturally light skin and it's beautiful. Because the skin is not naturally light, the use of those lightening agents, initially, which is what I say, when people lighten their skin, they actually look beautiful. That skin initially comes out, is glowing, but it's just for a short time. The side effects are going to come in. And that's when everybody will know that this skin was not originally a natural light skin.
We have basically talked about, or you've referenced how women, have fallen victim of this practice, this scourge, basically. Why not saying that it's right for women or even for them to do that, or even men? But we've seen men engage in this. What could be the explanation from the perspective of a man to want to lighten his skin?
Thank you very much. When we were talking earlier, we talked about it being a age-long problem. And in the past, you really didn't used to have so many men lightening their skin. But I guess over time, one of the reasons people attribute when they come to our clinic is that they're using their wife's creams or their girlfriend's creams. Okay. And most of those creams people use are already skin lightening agents. So for those people, you could give them that excuse that, okay, they didn't know what they were using, which is one of the reasons why I want to say you must check the products what you're taking on. Okay. But I guess over time, you realize that men are more visible in that sense. They are more beauty conscious these days. They are more aware of the person. They make their hair, they dress well, they dance well. And I think also they are also feeling the pressure to lighten their skin. And for them, you see the mark redness that they even develop, following the overuse of those creams. So it's for both men and both women. So studies have shown that more than 95% of women, about 75% of women in Nigeria do use skin lightening, but also have men.
Sorry, what's that percentage?
75%.
Okay.
Yes. And but even you have men also who do use skin lightening cream. So the awareness, you also have women who have children, babies. After like a week or two, they've had them, they'll say they're turning dark. They start to use skin lightening agents for them. And it's even worse in children because they're just growing. Stunted growth and other things do occur because those agents get absorbed in them. Their body surface area is small. So it's not just the women. So you have the women, you have the men, you have the children. It cuts across everywhere.
I mean, you mentioned that maybe for some men who probably have to borrow their wife's, cream just to maybe moisturize the body and all of those things. Is there a specific component that they should look out for? I mean, some people might not know.
Yeah.
And so in having to avoid it, maybe that they can identify a component that really is the
Active ingredients
for skin lightening in creams.
Yes, so for most skin lightening creams, the active ingredients we have in them, one is hydroquinone.
Okay.
Two, it's corticosteroids. That's steroids. You hear a lot of people, they use those 3-in-1 creams for different things. Can't mention the names here, but different things. So once you have people using those tubes with 3-in-1, one of those contains steroids like hydrocortisone, betamethasone. Some even go as use things like clobetasol.
Okay.
Clobetasol, so these are highly potent steroids and they have a lot of side effects, which we'll still mention if time permits. The third one that people use is mercury. Mercury has been used, it's been age long, it's contained in soaps, it contains in creams, it contains in different things. Then some also use some that are subtle, like kojic acid, like azelaic acid, a little bit of camphor, some drugs like tranexamic acid. So, for people, most times they need to check the back of the product and see what is contained. Of course, we also are aware that some people do, those people that mix creams for them.
Okay.
In that sense, you won't tell you what the active ingredient is. Some will say they are natural products.
Organic.
Organic. So these days, a lot of things hide under organic. We know there's some organic things here, vitamin C, and all those things. But people, most times, use those things beyond the recommended dose. Things like mercury, for instance, are supposed to be just 1 part per million. Some people have taken those creams and soaps and checked and realized that they have thousands parts per million, millions parts per million. So most of them hydroquinone, mercury, all shades of corticosteroids.
Right. If you want to join in on this conversation, pending the time we open phone lines, and you can then call and verbally ask your question or comment on skin lightening, which is our issue of the day today in commemoration of World Skin Health Day. You can drop us a comment on any of our social media platforms. We have Facebook, where we're live streaming, Splash FM 106.7. There's Twitter at Splash FM 1067. Use the hashtag Panorama on Splash. And of course, there's WhatsApp too, 081 7555 1067. We've talked about, what brings about a need or a want or a desire to change the color of one's skin. We've talked about what to watch out for. But let's talk about now the damage that it wreaks on one's skin. Now, for those who, are slowly coming to the realization that changing the color of your skin, brightening your skin using these harsh creams and chemicals, for those who are slowly coming to the realization that it's toxic and it doesn't exactly, fix one's self-esteem issues, it may not be enough to deter them, but perhaps the idea or the knowledge of the damage that it will wreak to their health, because the skin is the largest organ on the body.
Yes, it is.
Perhaps
I always try to emphasize that.
Perhaps the knowledge of the kind of damage that it would wreak would now be enough to deter them from taking this course of action. So tell us in candid terms, what harm does bleaching one's skin do? And is there a safe way? There are those who say there's a safe way to do it. these days online, you see all sorts of offers and advertisements, and some of them say, oh, they'll do it for you in a very organic way. They'll mix it for you specially, that there's a more expensive, safer way to do it. Is that true? And then what damage really does it do to one's skin and health?
Thank you very much, Lola. The side effects of skin lightening agents, skin brightening, bleaching, they are far-reaching, and they're quite extensive. We can't even exhaust all of them. And you have those that are on the skin, so we call it dermatology complications. You have those that are systemic. They are going to different systems,
right?
And most of those side effects are based really on the ingredients in those creams. Yeah. So you have some that are mild side effects, but you have some that are significant. One of the ones that is significant is what we call ochronosis. And that ochronosis, you see a number of people, they will come to you, they have this bluish black darkening of their chin area, It's so you have some people, we call it exogenous because they are one that can be caused with some enzyme defects. But this is quite common. So you have a lot of people, they say you're about duty Joe or something. That's how it is. Because most of those creams and agents that are being used react with the sun and then develop what we call like oxidation. And then those darkening, it's quite permanent. That's why people who have what we call dark knuckles, it's so predated on that. The fact that no matter how much skin lightening they use, those areas do not get, don't change color. We call it depigmenting. So, you have them like that. So ochronosis is a major issue, and once that sets in, it's really difficult to manage. So if you look at people you see around the chin, we call this the bone, the cheekbone here, right. They have ochronosis. Other things because of that's from the hydroquinone that they're using. Of course, other things, especially for the steroids, the 3-in-1 I mentioned, those tube creams that are being used, things like easy bruisability. The skin, if you just have a wound, bleeds a lot. There's a thinning of the skin,
right?
So there's poor wound healing, there's easy bruising, the skin becomes fragile, and then you start seeing their veins. Some people say they can see the veins looking greenish. That's part of the side effects of using of steroid creams,
which could be fatal if there's an emergency.
Yes, so you have people who then have like an accident, who then have burns, who have to be, you can't suture them, the wound keeps gaping, because it cannot hold. Of course, they are predisposed to different infections, fungal infections. In fact, some of them, when they come to us, the lesions they have is distorted. We call it atypical. So the regular way you expect a lesion to be, it will not be like that because they've used those creams. So they have fungal infections, bacterial infections, viral infections. They have the involvement of those 3-in-1, those creams, those steroids that I mentioned is from head to toe. So glaucoma, cataract, and then there's also we call a fish odor syndrome. It starts to smell a bit fishy because the secretion that is coming from those breakdown of those agents they use give them that fishy odor smell. The systemic complications are varied, and you have them. For instance, mercury that we mentioned can affect the skin. Topic that means that's on the skin. The side effects can affect the nervous system, so people can have neuropsychiatric complications. It can affect the kidneys. And most times you see people with kidney failure. Secondary, that's what we tell them. Use those tube creams are not expensive, but even the expensive ones. And then the person ends up with a kidney disease, needing dialysis. And other things.
All because they chose to lighten their skin.
Yes. So you have extensive striae. Striae means stretch marks. People can have stretch marks as they get older, as they become a young adult, but extensive stretch marks because of thinning and other things that we mentioned is usually secondary to those skin lightening agents. Of course, things like diabetes, poor blood sugar control, things like hypertension, things like can even shut down some of the major what we call endocrine organs, the adrenals and all that. You see people use what they say MAU. They use some tablets like that. They get light, but they also develop what we call the Cushing syndrome. So it's quite
expensive.
It's quite expensive. And like we said, for those people can have poor sleep, can have memory impairment from the chronic use of those skin lightening agents. You need to see some of them in the hospital when they come to you. Some have these extensive warts that you're limited in what you can do for it. So the passion is there to encourage people as much as possible to love their skin for what it is and to avoid skin lightening. Some people start just a little, a little cream there, a little here. And the argument is that is safe, but on the long run, it cannot really. So even the one they call glutathione, that is supposed to be used for some liver disease. People use them now for an injection. They say they're going for an injection, and studies for that has not been done widely. But even that has been known to affect the kidneys as well, to affect the brain. It can also cause what we call air embolism, which air just traps, goes into the lungs, and the person can have a sudden cardiac death.
Right. My other question about there being any safe skin lightening option. Is there any way that, because there are some advertisers who will try to lure prospective customers who want to change the color of their skin and tell them, oh, this is safer than the cheap creams that you get around. So is there such a thing as a safe way to lighten one's skin?
Well, we will not say there is a safe way because most things do have side effects. But are some agents milder than others? Maybe. If you're talking about some of those so-called organics, some of those so-called natural ingredients like vitamin A derivatives, vitamin C, arbutin, and gold, that they could lighten the skin. Again, it has to be in a very low quantity. Some argue that they're not lightening the skin, they're just toning the skin. Toning the skin, that's an attempt to make the skin, when the skin pores, that's the air, the spaces, the holes in the skin to breathe well.
Okay.
You're trying to get rid of dead cells. That's fine if that's toning in quote. It's not expected really to lighten the skin, but some people, there's a thin line really between skin toning and skin lightening.
Right.
So the argument really is if you're talking of safety profile, it has to be regulated. And many skin lightening agents, either the cheap ones or the expensive ones, are not really regulated in that sense. But in places where they monitor them actively, many of them have been banned. So if they are that safe, they will have been used. And I did mention that even for when you have indications for them, for therapeutic purposes, it's for a short time.
As you mentioned skin toning, it brought to mind the fact that oftentimes when you go to buy body cream, when you go to the supermarkets, down the aisle, you see virtually all the creams would have some sort of skin brightening, skin whitening, skin lightening. Like, is there a difference? Skin toning, is there a difference? At some point, being a dark-skinned lady, it became a nightmare to find a cream because I didn't want anyone that would change the color of my skin.
Yeah.
And so, but virtually all the common popular ones would have some sort of skin brightening, skin lightening. And I was afraid because I didn't know the difference. I mean, brightening technically is maybe different from whitening and lightening. So is there any difference between all these labels?
Yeah, so to me, I believe they're just semantics. In many years ago, there's some products when people say, okay, you're asking me not to lighten my skin. What should I use? And then you mentioned some common creams that you have been aware that probably even your parents were using the petroleum version before, and you're like, use the lotion. And then I get to a supermarket, just like you said, and then I see its own version of white. So for instance, maybe the cream was Lola cream, and then you now see Lola white. So the person that you have sent, say, go and buy Lola cream, gets there, and it's like, I can't even, after all, the doctor said I should go ahead. So it's quite, I mean, it really gets to us, really, because it's just semantics, really, as far as I'm concerned, whether it's brightened, whether it's... So what we tell people is that anything light, anything fair, anything white, anything clear, that is Lola clear, things like that, you should avoid them as much as possible. It's quite stressful. But sometimes you get there, you can't even see which one to buy.
Right.
And I think also because of the drive and the popularity of it, even most people realize that if they just do plain Lola cream, it will not really be purchased. So you then see them having a version that has some form of lightening.
Wow. So there's a demand for that market. And
yes,
so
there is. And it's not regulated. Yeah, so the makers are being pushed to do that. Even and then you have people who also make the fake version. So you have some creams that are actually dermatologically tested, who are dermatologically accredited in that sense, both here and abroad. And then you go to one market in one town and just see it's that same brand name and then lightening in front. So you call them in the clinic, go and buy this particular one because I've realized that this light day cream is good. And then the person gets there and see that there's even a whitening version of that. So it's quite...
All right, I should reference for those who are just tuning in that we're live on Twitter Space as well, and so you could head there to catch an audio to our conversation. We're looking at the scourge of skin lightening today as our issue of the day. And we have with us here in the studio Dr. Okelaide, who is a consultant dermatologist and head of Department of Internal Medicine at Federal Medical Center, Abeokuta. Keep your thoughts coming through via Facebook. I see one already. You could also make use of Twitter. The hashtag to use is Panorama on Splash. Also, ensure to send us WhatsApp messages. The number is 0817 555 1067. My next question in this regard is, I've heard my parents and people I respect and elders say, if you want to control something, go to the root cause of that thing. And I'm thinking, the surest way to control this is the source, the production. Is it pretty difficult to control this from those that make these products for people to buy?
Thank you very much. So what is very important is public advocacy, legislation, that you have that discourages the import of those chemicals or those agents to your area as much as possible. So the Nigerian Association of Dermatologists over the years have done a lot of work, releasing communique, getting the legislative arm involved, the House of Assembly, House of Rep, to put up strong ban, to those things. And even the products, people have gone around it, even the drug administration agencies do go around, sometimes pick some of those agents, take them to the lab to assess the harm that they have, but we need increased action on that. Even people outside the country have realized that when a particular country bans those things, some people still get them imported as much as possible. But yes, we need that regulation. We need increased work in ensuring that there's strong. If people get sanctioned for selling those products, if they get sanctioned for importing them, if they are taxed for it, and they're punished for it, it probably will reduce the scourge skin lightening in Nigeria.
Okay, I see a question here from someone, and that has also diverted my attention of sorts towards it. We've talked about cream a whole lot. How about soaps? Don't they also have? Don't they also fall into that bracket?
They do fall. At the time I mentioned soap, we should be saying skin lightening agents, or skin lightening products, really, because they come in different versions. That's why I said there was the injectables, like you have in the glutathione. You have the soaps, especially the mercury-containing soaps, and then you have creams, you have lotions, you have gel. When we say cream, we're actually trying to put everything in bracket, but if you want to look at it, is because creams are different from lotions, from gels, from ointments. Right. So what we really mean is skin lightening agents, and they come in different formulations, and they come in different forms. In those days, it's just soap people use. There's some soaps, if we mention them, you will remember that people use, and that soap was enough. It was mercury containing, and there was enough to give them lightening of the skin with resultant dry, resultant chronic kidney disease.
What about good old petroleum jelly? Is that a safe cream?
Yeah. So petroleum jelly is safe and has always been safe.
Okay.
Very few people do have some reaction in which their hair follicles get occluded, but it's been safe. But you rarely have people these days use petroleum jelly.
They say it makes them dark.
Many things they say it makes them dark. In fact, when you tell people that you're light, they'll tell you I'm ordinarily light. I'm just maintaining it. I'm just trying to ensure it. Petroleum jelly is good, and it's even good for wound healing and all. But we say that if you cannot use petroleum jelly because of the argument that maybe it makes it to sweat, you can then use lotions and creams. You actually have lotions and creams that are not skin lightening. Difficult to get, but you do have them. So if you come to us, we can give people a counsel on that. So, and then what I always say is that I remember when I was in the university, I had terrible acne, which you call pimples, and the drive to deal with it. They tell you use this cream, and I started using one cream that apparently contained clobetasol. At that time, you won't even know to check the agent or to be worried. But within a week, I'd become fair. I'd become beautiful in that sense. Because that initially that lightening gives you that. But I stopped immediately. So the argument is if you're using any cream, any lotion, any soap, and you realize that you're getting lighter, or somebody notices that you're getting lighter, if you are sincere and if you really don't want the untoward side effects at the end of the day, then you stop. We did not mention skin cancer. I was waiting to mention and then I forgot. Skin cancer is a major possible side effects of skin lightening agents. And for us, well, like we mentioned that the dark skin is protective, so you don't have so many cases of skin cancer. But we look, I mean, there was somebody that even sent one Twitter picture where somebody even noted that in years to come, we're going to have increased cases of skin cancers in Nigeria because most people going around have removed the topmost layer of the skin, that is the epidermis, that is protective. So the sun damage, even there's climate change everywhere, so there's increased sun damage.
Right.
But more so here, Abeokuta has like 36 degrees, almost 40 degrees centigrade sometimes for that temperature. So in some years to come, you're going to have increased cases of skin cancer. Sometimes skin cancers, if it's not detected early, will have spread to the brain and go before the person even comes to you. So those are the reasons why. Some people say they don't have any problem, but one person that develops a cancer, that's 100% problem in that person's family. So those are the reasons why we try to dissuade it as much as possible.
I know you've already talked about the semantics between brightening, lightening, and whitening, and you also spoke briefly about skin toning. But some people, when they say they are toning their skin, they say they are just returning their skin back to its original color. And truly, we have seen cases of Nigerians who maybe travel abroad, and then you see that their skin looks better.
I was going to say that.
You know, so people use that as
yeah.
an argument to say, okay, this is not my real color. You know, maybe it's the struggle color. It's because I'm suffering or I don't have as much money. Does that hold? Is that tenable?
So for the reason actually why when you travel and you feel better sometimes really is you actually have improved diet. You take more fruits. You take more, we're better hydrated. The weather, it's calmer. It's not as hot as we have here. Because even if I travel within a week, I actually look a bit different from what I used to look around here. So the skin toning, if it's strictly toning, that's not a problem. You notice that even for us, I mean, even for dermatologists, some people that have like acne is because of increased oil. So
Right.
you recommend things that reduces that oil. And some of those things, they clear the skin, they clear the pore, which is also what they write some of them. You know, have some salicylic acid things to reduce that oiliness as much as possible to make the skin breathe. So if you're doing that kind of skin toning to clear dead cells, that's fair enough.
Well, one should do it with the aid of a dermatologist.
No. What you should do that with the consciousness that you're just getting the skin better. You know, I mean, you're clearing the skin, get regular because we always have dead cells on the body. So cleansing them is something that can actually here where we sweat and all. Cleansing them is not harmful and it's not dissuaded. But if you're doing them because you now want, I mean, if you say you are toning and you realize that within 1 week or 2 weeks of toning, you have become lighter than you used to be, then you need to ask yourself, what exactly am I doing?
Okay, well, I know we've talked a whole lot about different forms and shades that these things come. I mean, I just got one here about how about glow creams? I mean, are they also?
Okay, so we didn't mention glow. Yeah. So if you're glowing, if you're whitening, if you're brightening, if you're, for me, they are semantics. I mean, they are semantics.
They all fall into the same.
Yeah.
bracket.
So I remember that when we were in school, secondary school, we used to do things like we have rose water, glycerin, you know, things like that. You know, but those ones, I think, they're just used to clear dead skins from the body. If you
So
go
rose
home,
water is still healthy.
yeah, it's
still
fair. So if you still use those ones, you realize. I mean, every time you use a cotton wool or whatever to clean your face, you see some dead cells there. You know, so some things are there. They sweat, but it's those ones to make the skin glow, not glow, to make the skin healthy.
Okay.
To make the skin clean. You know, that's
You mentioned something
encouraged.
about allowing the skin to be able to breathe well.
Yes, because you have pores, which you call pores. You know, so if anything blocks them, sometimes you have. That's also why people are predisposed to things like pimples. If you have dirt blocking them and then acting with the sun, you can start developing tiny spots, which you call pimples.
Right. Now, I'm sure we are going to have, you know, a mammoth number of calls.
Yeah.
Because people have been calling even while you were talking, and I can already see comments on social media. By the way, if you'd like to add yours to the comments we have on social media, we have WhatsApp 0817-555-1067. We have Twitter at SplashFM1067, and we also have Facebook SplashFM 106.7. For Twitter, the hashtag to use as you tweet is hashtag Panorama on Splash. Now, this is going to be probably my last question before we open phone lines. You talked about advocacy and, you know, how we need to tighten legislation, where in some countries these things are banned. Does it not rest with NAFDAC and bodies like NAFDAC and maybe the standards organizations of Nigeria to stop this influx of these skin bleaching creams and soaps from coming into the market?
Yes, thank you very much. So you have the NAFDAC and, like I said, the SON doing their bits in ensuring that these agents do not come into the country. But more monitoring needs to be done, more sanctioning needs to be done, and I think more legislation on this matter needs to be done. So if people are aware that this has been banned, lightning agents, and that people, the NAFDAC, for instance, go around once in a while, you do see things on social media. I mean, that is quite distressing, you know. So if people post such a thing, if the agency is concerned, because I can't go and seize a cream in a supermarket, you know, if those people do those things, and if we all as individuals in our social media presence that we have, you know, dissuade the use of these things, then it gets better.
Okay, 0704 400 1067, 0817 444 1067, 0817 555 1067, and finally 0705 050 1067. Let's take our first call on the show.
Okay, let's start with Twitter space. There is a certain individual who is requesting to speak with us, but if you get that sorted, either you can speak to us, but let's take this call while we wait for you to sort all of that out. Hello, good morning. What's your name?
Hello, good morning. This is Nicholas.
Nicholas, thanks for calling. Go on.
There are a lot of interesting days in this week. Good morning, consultants.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, you. I love the way you stress semantics. One of the problems of the modern age is semantics. Our illiterate grandmothers, they knew how to make, in fact, that's what they call elaku in the East. It's from palm oil. They knew local esterification processes. How come we that have gone to Harvard and London and Germany don't know that lightening, brightening, whitening, all these are different forms of bleaching? They're just synonyms. And you see, that is the problem with when our grandmothers were alive, a man was a man and a woman was a woman. But now a man can identify as a woman. You can see how the devil entered the world through semantics to cause confusion. This topic is similar to yesterday's topic. When we were growing up, we all knew the pomade we used that was good. And the one that we go to the market to bleach. It doesn't matter whether you were a doctor in FMC or you were selling a lobo in Elega. But like Benga asked, there's a limit to which you control consumer behavior. Like yesterday, if the drug lords from Mexico bring the drugs to US, some people will try it. So it is better for the governments of both countries to go to the center of production. By so doing, you limit use and reach, because everywhere in the world, ants will always gravitate towards sugar and pigs will always gravitate towards dustbins. Thank you very much. You have done a nice job. But like you said, there's the social stigma. Most of our actresses, our model, our air hostesses, our secretaries have to look like the sun. Then the black women who are not bold enough, I don't know what will make you lose self-esteem, if not that you are not a strong woman or a strong man. You know?
Nicholas,
all right.
We appreciate your contribution. Please keep your thoughts to 1:30 so that we can allow as many people contribute as possible.
Hello, good morning. What's your name?
Good morning. Olabode Adegun is my name.
All right, thanks for calling us. Go on.
Skin toning, skin bleaching is no question medically unadvisable. The angle I want to come from, however, is how about we extend this discussion to cover the opposite case situations? Cases of one, where we find people subjecting themselves to some bathing, especially the Caucasians. Some even come down to Africa for vacation, primarily for the purpose of achieving a slightly darker skin. So I don't know what that gives them, the kind of that give when they get back home. So are there pronounced adverse effects to this act too? So I mean medically. And two, some soaps and creams are specifically made to suit the darker skin people. So situation, where someone that is naturally fair complexioned is now applying these same unsuitable cosmetic products, and they notice that they start getting rapidly darker. I think you follow, man. So does that portend any adverse effects to the users too? Please, medically speaking, address these two points.
Your questions have been noted. Dr. Care will answer the questions all at once. So she's noting them down, so she'll answer them all at once. Hello?
Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning. Afolabi.
Hello. Good
Hello.
morning. Hello. Good morning.
Okay, let's hear from this person instead. Hi, good morning. What's your name?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Tajudeen from Agbon.
Thanks for calling us. Go on.
Yes, good morning, doctor. Thanks so much. I think these things, even if the production is still massive, enlightenment is very important, and self-discipline, because people deliberately, even if they don't produce, if you can't find it, people deliberately ask for it. I need this particular thing. Then what if this kind of creams have that kind of effect on adults? What do we now think of little kids that the parents use these things on? They are children. Children are still very innocent. They don't know. It's whatever the parents apply on them that they use. Then there is this shea butter. People say shea butter makes you become darker. So most people that are fair in complexion, they run away from shea butter, which we call ori in Yoruba. So most people run from it. Is it true? Does it really make people to look more darker, either the shea butter or the Vaseline? Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Tajudeen, for talking to us. Let's hear from this person now, and then we'll allow you to answer the questions. Hello. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning.
Hello. Can you hear us?
Good morning.
Good morning, Afolabi.
Yes,
Thanks for calling us.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, consultant to the house. I want to see the issue of this skin lightening, bleaching. I want to see it as a case of inferiority complex. We are given very good skin by God, and we are not proud of this skin. So that is why we see people going about trying to change their color. I think Michael Jackson has not served as a good example in that white. So now, we have known the side effects of all these things. Like somebody like me, I don't use anything. I don't apply anything to my skin. So, is it? Should I continue that way, or is there any other thing I can, start applying to my skin that will still maintain my normal skin? I don't want to use anything. I don't want to apply anything. I just want to live natural. So, is it good? So that is my question this morning.
All right.
All right. Perhaps we should let Dr. Care answer the questions we've gotten so far, because there's quite a number of them on WhatsApp as well, and I assume Twitter and Facebook. But quickly, the questions.
Because of time. Thank you very much. Some of the things that they mentioned, we had also emphasized that the side effects of making children or using skin lightening creams on them, and even from the young age, already making them realize that the light skin is better than the dark skin. So when they grow old, the self-esteem, their self-esteem is already lowered, and of course their perception about the fact that light skin is acceptable one. And so the onus lies on us as parents, the onus lies on us even as the community, to keep emphasizing that the dark skin is beautiful and dark skin can achieve as much as it can. In little kids, I did mention that they could have stunted growths. They can have, even for those who are pregnant and they have used those things, they can have some fetal toxicities, and so that's discouraged. Whether it's people that have light skin, the issue of getting dark with the use of shea butter or Vaseline, I think some of those things is just basically based on the individuals. And we did mention that if you think you're getting darker, like a light skin with those things, you could try another one. And the thing, some people tell you they don't cream their body, especially some men. Moisturizing the skin is important. Keeping the skin healthy, keeping the skin hydrated is very important. And you do that through the use of safe moisturizing lotion. You have moisturizing lotions that do not have anything that is lightening in them if you check the products. And so we encourage all to moisturize their skin. Concerning sun exposure, sunbathing, so it's actually you call it an irony. So you have the dark skin that wants to get lighter, and then you have the light skin that wants to get darker.
Tanning, I think it's
tanning.
called.
Yeah, it's called tanning. So we have different skin types, and so the skin type of the whites is type 1 to 3. Ours is like 4 to 6. So sometimes they do come to tan the skin. My tanning of the skin, it's protective. we did mention that the darker the skin, the better it is from the sun damage and the need of the use to use sunscreens, even though we encourage sunscreens for all as much as possible. But if they stay too much in the sun, there's a dose for it. If they stay too much in the sun, they can have sunburns, and then sunburns could have a problem. But I mean, it just shows that the dark skin that some of us are running away from, some people actually do not mind their skin a bit tanner.
Right.
I mean, a bit darker, which is tanning the skin.
I'm sorry, Dr. Lady. I'm having to interrupt you, but I learned in secondary school about vitamin D from the sun, the early morning one. I mean, does that also not...
Yeah. No, whether
does
it's
does
protective.
it negate it in terms of you saying too much of the sun exposure could have adverse effects on the skin?
So the vitamin D is one of the functions of the skin. You know, it even helps it to convert it on the skin, and it has effects on the skin. But for most times, when you talk about the sun has different rays.
Okay.
There's talk of which you call ultraviolet rays. So there's ultraviolet A, there's B, there's C. The most protective of them is the ones of the early morning. That's the one that has the A and B. As the day goes on, it has C. For instance, for many skin conditions, we even tell them avoid afternoon sun, use an umbrella. Okay. So the later the day, the higher and the exposure, the risk of things like skin cancer, especially for those who have light skin. So the tanning has to be early. In fact, those people that come for sunbathing or tanning of the skin do use sunblocks. They use, because they are trying to harness the good part of the sun while trying to filter away, trying to get away the harmful part of the sun.
Right. On the heels of that, I think someone also asked this as well. Should even darkening the skin, is there any adverse effect? Just like lightening the skin has adverse effects, is there any adverse effect from one skin, like those of us with melanin who are naturally darker skinned? If your skin becomes darker as a result of maybe petroleum jelly or shea butter
or even some skin conditions.
Yes, is there any adverse effect to that?
So if there's a darkening of the skin, there's not adverse effect. What you have is what you call a cosmetic thing. So some people have some skin lesions that heal with marked darkening of the skin. But those ones, it's a cosmetic thing, and then we then make efforts to ensure that at least it comes back to their normal skin as much as possible. So the drive is the normal skin. And not that somebody should be overtly dark, but we have some who actually have a good appreciation of melanin. When you say melanin popping and co,
right?
And it's quite good. But what is important for every individual, which is what we're saying, is as a person, you should love yourself for who you are. As a person, you should have a good self-esteem. You should have this good quality about yourself, that you can achieve whatever you want to achieve. Sometimes definitely you will get discriminated. Somebody say this person is too dark, I don't want to give them that job. But that doesn't
mean you're wrong. They are wrong.
Yes, they are the ones that are wrong, and then so it's their problem, not yours. It's their loss, not yours. And so I think the more we have people coming up, and somebody did mention, which is what we said before, that you have a lot of personality celebrities who, when they first started acting, they were dark like you, and then the next time you see them, they are fair. So others think it is what it should be. But
let me also add that there are celebrities who have maintained their skin color
and they promote it,
and
they remain. Yeah, so some people that are lighting now, it looks good. Look at age later, you're not going to die tomorrow. By the time you're like 40, 50, 60, with that skin still be good to you, with that skin still reflect you. With that, some people, you see them, they're 70, they're looking beautiful because they kept using creams and agents that kept their skin healthy, not necessarily that kept it lighter.
Okay, we have a number of messages on WhatsApp, and I know what the WhatsApp community is going to be angry if I don't address their questions, because they've sent it in earlier. Kendi Adifulu says, what is the effect of controlling pimples and applying tubes, such as, I'm not going to mention the name, because it later tones the face? What cream would you recommend for we that are dark? We can't mention brand names for obvious reasons. But he also says, or should we not even use any cream and leave the body the way it is?
She's already said that you should moisturize the skin.
It's important.
And so what we say, especially for those 3-in-1 creams, is that they have, the steroid that they have is what you call anti-inflammatory, reduces inflammation. If you have, and then also let us put at the back of our mind that we have very few dermatologists in Nigeria. So you have people who are non-dermatologists promoting many dermatology things. And that's why you have a lot of problems. So if you use any of those anti-inflammatory agents initially, the rash or the lesion or the acne looks better. But at the end, it's going to be more inflamed, and it's going to be more difficult to manage. So that cream that he's mentioning and all that, that's a strong one. I said has clobetasol. So the side effects is head to toe, systemic and skin on the long run. So initially they use it for pimples and it gets better, but just for a short time. Tolerance and co develops. You need more to get the same effect, and they get darkening of the skin, redness and all.
Right. Let me take this one before we go on a commercial break. Please, you will have to grant us maybe a spare 5 minutes after the break so that we can address the questions on social media. Ayodeji Famogbiele says, the resource person talked about using skin lightening to treat certain ailments. Can you please throw some lights on this? I once had to treat eczema using a brand of corticosteroids. I observed that it started lightening my skin. I wasn't comfortable about that. Same thing with my brother. So I discontinued it and had to use a brand of black soap that relatively helped out.
Thank you very much. So we did mention that you have some skin conditions. We do use steroids in skin diseases, but we use them, we regulate them. We tell people that if you're going to use them, there's a dosing to it, even though it's a cream, and it's also for a regulated time. And also, we also tell you that if you're using it for the part that has a problem, not the whole body. So, and then we tell them the possible side effects can be lightening of the skin. But those ones are regulated use, and you minimize them, and we start with the least potent as much as possible.
All right, let's go on that commercial break. Dr. Olaide Oke is gracious enough to grant us a few more minutes so that she can answer your questions on WhatsApp. Apologies to anyone who still called. As you can see, we are trying to juggle everything, and, there's a lot to juggle. So we'll be back after this commercial break. Please stay with us.
Panorama.
Panorama. Panorama. Panorama.
Panorama.
Panorama on Splash 106.7 FM.
One na dey go sef, one na body go dey drive for stand upon say bike don scarce or people wey dey bus stop plenty. You can't wait so tey your appointment don't pass. Make una mind the day cooler. Akoride na better option for every corner wey dey Abeokuta as e big reach. No fear. Anything wey be safety dey assured. On a ride go dey go sirene. The riders plus the passengers them get security wait and dagidiga. Wait on still dey wait for. Go download the app on Google Play Store. Now, if na iOS, e still dey go immediately. Now 500 naira bonus go sound for on a happy bam. Akoride with shaking money on a go carry body reach the destination with on a mind No dey waste time. Oya sharply join body for the website www.akoride.ng. No come forget say on a go download the app on Google Play Store and iOS on a security data and dagidiba. Akoride, our riders them get identification element plus jacket we get number. Akoride, it is safe, it is secure, it's still on the affordable.
Oya,
ẹ má bínú ẹjẹ ń sáré yọsẹ fún mọ́tò yìí. Kí ló dé? Ó dàbí wípé bátìrì ló ń yọ mí lẹ́nu. Àrè ó yìnbí ní bí bẹ́ńjì ní yín lẹ́nu.
Tí bátìrì bá ń yọ ọkọ̀ lẹ́nu, ẹ wá mọ̀nà ilé iṣẹ́ Adco Die-Hard battery níbi tí wọ́n ti ń ta ojúlówó bátìrì mọ́tò.
Ìkan náà ni gbogbo àwọn tó ń ta bátìrì ó ti sú mi.
Padà Adco Die-Hard battery tayọ àwọn ẹlẹgbẹ́ wọn nítorí bẹ́ẹ̀ mi díje ni gbogbo bátìrì téèyàn bá rà lọ́dọ̀ wọn. Ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ báyìí nínú àwọn oníbàárà wọn ń dùn nítorí kò sí pé mọ́tò ń paná láàrin títì mọ́. Kò sí irú bátìrì tẹ̀ ń wá tí ò sí lọ́dọ̀ wọn.
75 amps jẹ́ 28,000 naira. 100 amps jẹ́ 38,000 naira. 200 amps jẹ́ 140,000 naira.
Adco Industries USA Nigeria Limited ló ṣe ojúlówó Adco Die-Hard battery.
Níbo wá ní ilé-iṣẹ́ Adco Die-Hard battery wà báyìí?
Wọ́n wà ní nọ́mbà 15 Oníkólóbó Abẹ́òkúta telephone
0703-928-5741 tàbí 0703-116-4983.
Àǹfààní yìí wà fún àádọ́ta èèyàn àkọ́kọ́ títí di ọjọ́ 15 oṣù kẹfà.
Ó yá nìṣó níbẹ̀ kó lọ ra bátìrì ní kíákíá. Adco Die-Hard battery ojúlówó gbà.
Akọ́lé mara lẹ̀.
Gbogbo ọ̀nà ire ní níléeṣẹ́ àgbájọ Homes and Property Nigeria Limited. Àwọn ilẹ̀ wọn kọjá bẹ́ẹ̀ kẹ̀tíkẹ̀tí ló ń tà. Torí pé ó pọ̀ ju owó rẹ̀ lọ. Ilẹ̀ ìbára orílẹ̀ kọ́pàpẹ́ àgbóòdo 200,000 ní tẹ́lẹ̀ báyìí lórí promo wọn 100,000 lẹ́sàn. Tẹ̀sí mọ̀ wípé iléeṣẹ́ àgbájọ kò ní jẹ́ ta ilẹ̀ inú igbó láéláé. Ilẹ̀ ń bẹ ní Ìdíòrè, Onígangan, Òṣèlẹ̀, kọ́pàpẹ́, Ṣòdẹ̀kẹ̀tìtò. Bẹ́ẹ̀ sì nílé oko wọn. Ìgbọ́ra, ìbára orílẹ̀, Ọ̀pẹ́jì, 30,000 ní plọ̀tì kan. Bẹ́ẹ̀ bá ra plọ̀tì mẹ́ta ẹ gba ìdajì sí. Ó sì jẹ́ ékàlẹ́ra odidi lẹ́gbà sí. Táwọn tí ó bá yín gbìnrìn oko yín sì wà nílẹ̀. Àwọn kan náà ni wọ́n bá yín tà 39 NTA Road Ọgbẹ̀ Abẹ́òkúta 07044648338 07044648338. Ẹ jẹ́ ká gbé ìgbésẹ̀ àtẹ̀mí àti àwọn èsì kọ̀ọ̀kan kù. Ọjọ́ kẹwàá oṣù kẹfà.
Akọ́lé mara lẹ̀.
Ọ̀rọ̀ òdodo wa ẹ̀wọ̀n agbọ́ná sí àtúntúndé lẹ́nu wa.
ẹwà gbọ́n ẹ ṣe wà lábdòfin kó o má dalẹ̀ yọ̀nà ikò tọ̀ àbí kó o má gbélẹ̀ sójú ọ̀nà yóò gbàràǹgbà kọjá ẹgbàlẹ́ ẹgbàta ẹ̀rọkọ àyíká tóun ti dédé agbègbè kẹ́ẹ̀dá dédé ilé yín pátá sínú gbòròdó òmù ọlọ́mọrí ìyẹn dúrọ̀mù níwájú ilé yín gẹ̀nẹ́ àjọ yìí ìjọba ti yàn létí má kólẹ̀ ládùúgbò yín ìyẹn PSP wọ́n dè wá kó níbi ẹ bá kówó sí ẹ̀lìmọ́nà wa ẹ ṣe mọ̀ tó tó ibi ẹ ti ń tajà ibi àti ń tọkọ̀ṣe kó fi dédé ẹbílẹ̀ mẹ́kòlì pátá ibi ìgbafẹ́ dédé gáràjì ọkọ̀ ẹ ṣàtúnṣe inú tòun àyíká lẹ́yìn ilé oúnjẹ ojú ọ̀nà dédé ẹ fi tọ̀gbàrà alẹ́ yóò gbàrà kọ̀gbàrà ríbi gbà kílẹ̀ kò dúró láyé tirẹ̀ náà dédé lẹ́yẹ bá kójọ inú dúrọ̀mù ọlọ́mọrí ìwà níwájú lẹ́yìn yẹn gẹ́nẹ́ ibẹ̀ dẹ̀rẹ̀ kẹ́ máa kó dédé rẹ̀ sí àjọ PSP yìí ìjọba ti yàn wá àdúgbò yín wá dẹ̀ débẹ̀ bí wọ́rọ́wọ́ rẹ̀ wọ́n máa gbé wá dẹ̀ kó lọ ibi ìjọba ti yà sọ̀tọ̀ kọ̀ má dàkí ní òun sí níbi ó ti máa wúlò fún un rẹ̀ ó ti lòdì sófin gbà ká má dalẹ̀ tàbí ká gbélé sí ronà ẹ gbà kìlọ̀ yó a ò lè rógún àjàkálẹ̀ àrùn onígbà méjì o ilé iṣẹ́ ìjọba ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn ìyí ń bójútó ohun ẹlẹ́gbin lọ́nà ìtọ́ ó gbọ́ mà òun rè ń lọ́gùn tọ́tọ́ pé ìmọ́tótó ó borí àrùn mọ́lẹ̀.
ọdún mẹ́fà wá ti pé o ó ti pé o ara mi. orin tí gbogbo wa ń fìdùnnú kọ nílé iṣẹ́ IAS lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ báyìí lè yí nítorí wípé ó ti pé ọdún mẹ́fà gẹ́gẹ́ tá a dá ilé iṣẹ́ yìí sílẹ̀. ọdún mẹ́fà yìí ayẹyẹ ńlá ni a sì fẹ́ káwọn èèyàn jẹ ìfà. innovator number 1 yín náà ni o Alhaj Abdulkabir Irasalatu. láti sàmì sí ayẹyẹ ọdún kẹfà tá a dá ilé iṣẹ́ IAS Homes and Properties sílẹ̀ la ṣe gbé ètò ẹ̀dínwó kalẹ̀ lórí ilẹ̀ kan tá a pè ní Country Garden. ilẹ̀ tó máa dáa púpọ̀ ni kì í ṣe ilẹ̀ omi ilẹ̀ tó tẹ́jú ni ó súnmọ́ títì pẹ́kípẹ́kí ìrìn ìṣẹ́jú méje péré ni sí Alámàlà Barracks ní Randa nílùú Abẹ́òkúta ó máa dáa fún ilé kíkọ́ púpọ̀ ẹni tó bá dẹ̀ tún fẹ́ rà pamọ́ ogún ńlá gbáà ló fi pamọ́ o àǹfààní ibẹ̀ wá ni wípé 150,000 naira péré lẹ máa rà dípò 300,000 naira tá ń tà tẹ́lẹ̀tẹ́lẹ̀ ọjọ́ kẹfà oṣù kẹfà làǹfààní yìí máa dópin ìwọ náà tara pé nọ́mbà yìí 08092944848.
Don't dare touch that dial. It's Splash, your integrity station.
Panorama.
Panorama. Panorama. Panorama.
Panorama.
Panorama on Splash 106.7 FM. Thank you so much for staying with us. You're listening to Panorama right here on Splash 106.7, the Integrity Station. We decided to extend each of the day for a few minutes, just about 5, okay, max, before we allow Dr. Laide to leave the studio this morning. We're looking at the scourge of skin lightening, and we have questions from WhatsApp. We should take a few that Dr. Laide can answer in the few minutes that she has spared us.
All right, Dr. Laide, just note these questions. Charles from Lagos is saying, why would some cleansing agents and some protective agents cause skin darkening effects? Adebayo wants to know, is there any relationship between tattooing and bleaching? And this question, okay, that was Nicholas. Moving on to this next one from Abiola from Adigbe. Abiola wants to ask if a particular cream is advisable. Maybe look at the name of the cream so that you can answer it, because I can't say the name here. Okay. She wants to know if the particular cream is advisable. And finally, this one, you didn't include your name. Please always include your name when you said your message. Okay, I'm scrolling up. I can see it from Afolabi. Afolabi says, is it good not to apply? She's answered this one already. And he also says, how can one's skin be made natural? So that's 4 questions. How can one's skin be made natural? Is it advisable to use this particular cream, whose name I've showed you, and tattooing and bleaching, as well as cleansing agents and some protective agents?
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for the contributions. It shows that people are listening and people are actively participating. Right. So the cream the person mentioned, it's usually advisable. We used to ask people to use it, but like we mentioned during the break, these days you have many products, either from the company itself or from, what do you call them?
People who want to duplicate it.
Who are giving it. But usually if it's just that product and there's no anything like lightening, fairness, whiteness, whatever to it, then that's fine. Whether some agents or as much as possible. Natural, how can you keep the skin natural? The theme of the World Skin Day really is having healthy skin for all Nigerians. And that is all encompassing, not just moisturizing the skin, but taking care of yourself. Adequate sleep, adequate hydration, taking proper diet, balanced diet, using sunscreens, taking fruits and vegetables, avoiding injuries to the skin as much as possible, checking the products that you're using, that they have they don't have anything that is skin lightening or harmful to the skin. I think those are some good exercise. All those things holistically keep the skin healthy, keep the skin natural as much as possible.
Tattooing and bleaching, the relationship.
Yeah, so
is there any?
I don't know what the person is trying to ask. So tattooing of the skin is just, that one has its own side effects, has its own problem. But most people that tattoo do not have a lightening. They actually have like a darkening of the skin, but they can react, they can have dermatitis and things like that from using it.
Thank you very, very much, Dr. Oke Olaide, consultant dermatologist and head of department, internal medicine, Federal Medical Center at Abeokuta, Ogun State, for joining us and enlightening us today, World Skin Health Day.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you all. Thank you to Splash
All right,
FM.
we'll proceed on a short break and we'll get started with the second segment. Of course, read the rest of the comments you've sent on Twitter and Facebook. Stay here. Panorama.
Panorama. Panorama. Panorama.
Panorama.
Panorama on Splash 106.7 FM.
Don't dare touch that dial. It's Splash, your integrity station.
Thank you so much for keeping faith with us. Splash 106.7, the integrity station. We'll have some comments still from WhatsApp as well, or all of them have been gone through.
I can see people with questions on Facebook. So what we'll do next time is we'll open phone lines earlier. Sorry, we'll read comments earlier because I see that some of you are asking questions on Facebook as well. But Dr. Olaide has to go because we have another segment of the show to run through. But I can see Toluene Ololade Solomon saying, "Good morning, doctor. Can coconut oil cause sunburn? Secondly, I have experiment adding scent leaves as additives in organic soap base and discovered it's a good lightening agent. But does it have any side effects?" Okweoluwa Ogulano also said, "Dr. Olaide Oke, thank you for this educative session. I like your color. Please, how do you help us with the inadvertent use of these products? Also, I think we should move ahead with research to classify the desire to lighten your skin as a psychiatric disorder in DSM classification. Please look more into this." And commendations from, have you read Sanitarian Akiola's?
No, not yet.
Comments?
I haven't.
All right.
Okay, so it's Sanitary Akiola Lawrence says, "Good morning and well done. I watched on social media how some people remove the outer layer of your skin with a chemical, which I know is going to have some implications." Oh, it's a question actually. About if some fruits or foods could be taken to clear one's skin, and also what the role of shea butter in applying. I think the issue of shea butter was also addressed by Dr. Laide. I know Tajudin from Agbo asked that question. So yeah, Tiami Rashid says, "Good morning, kudos to Splash FM for educating the populace all the time. Thank you for that." I think those are the ones that are...
Red collar, Matt Adekunle's comment.
Okay, so he says, "Good morning, Ma. Please, there are some facial acne removal cream with high percentage of steroid boldly written in the leaflet, and people still use it for longer periods." Okay, asking a question of what education the dermatologist can provide to discontinue people from using such. He also goes on to say a certain soap has mercury, and it's freely displayed on the counter, and he's asking why. Okay, I think that has also been addressed because of commercial reasons. People just want to sell their market, and so that could just explain why that is the case.
Yes. Okay, so this comment or this tweet says, "I love the topic treated on Panorama. Even most times, parents are the cause of their children bleaching. Some parents are always ashamed that their children are black. Even a relationship, because you like a lady and she says she doesn't like black, because you love her, you bleach." Now, I know this is me, maybe going off course, but at the root of this is a problem of esteem, self-esteem.
Wanting to belong.
Yes, and how you regard yourself. No doubt. I mean, those who are pushing the messaging that lighter skin is preferable, lighter skin is attractive, they are part of the problem. They are the genesis of the problem. But you can't let what people tell you about yourself affect how you view yourself. I think at the genesis of this skin lightening scourge is the fact that people want to be light skinned because lighter skin is preferred. And also, if you are part of the people who, when you see darker skinned people, you call them derogatory names, you say, "Woboye dudu be deports," you are part of the problem as well. Every time, I remember there was one time, I don't watch football, but I remember there was a football player, very dark skinned, that's always getting trolled, always getting insulted.
Not just one, a lot of
You
football
know,
players.
those are, the more you, no matter how dark skinned a person is, even if they are as dark as the color black, never ever say that, never ever insult them because they are dark or call them ugly. You're telling them that dark skin is ugly and they need to change it. But if you are dark skinned and you've gotten told that all your life, then you can't let what other people say affect you. I mean, I feel like this would be a good time to play Beyonce's Brown Skin Girl, but you know what? Let's just get on with From the Pages. We have Dr. Amos Kolawole in the studio with us.
Thank you very
Good morning.
much. Good morning. Thanks for having me. Good morning, Benga.
All right, good morning to you, sir. I'll go through the Nation newspaper and the Vanguard newspaper this morning.
I'll go through Punch as well as Premium Times.
Okay, from the Nation, here are the stories you'd find. Buhari seeks APC governors' support to pick successor. Also, we have Okada ban takes off in Lagos. 3 global scammers arrested in Lagos, Benin. Also, give us prepaid meters, Lagos communities plead. Looking at all the stories now, NWC members accuse party chair Adamu of taking unilateral decisions. That's also from the Nation. Taking you through the Vanguard now. Updated this story. 2 dead, 23 rescued as building collapses in Lagos. Showing car storms Benin Republic for Sunday Igboho. Nigeria's I'll move on from that one. Tambo urges Nigerians to pray for peace-free, fair elections. Also, Southeast Security Army alleges IPOB ESN of using pictures of fake soldiers to promote disinformation. Also, this one, Bishop Kuka as excuse, right? I don't know what that means. 2023, vote out bad governance, Atiku tells Nigerian workers. May Day, our salaries can no longer sustain our households. Ebonyi workers crowds to Governor Dave Umahi of the state. 2023, President Yanga as APC PDP move ceding tickets to North. ICANN applauds linkage assurance for human capital development. Also, AFDB will partner MFBs to boost MSMEs. ASU strike presidential primaries can't hold in Abuja, Nance declares. Also, confusion as PDP Council's Congress in Anambra. 2023, Lawan to pick nominations forms declares this week. Those are the stories you'll find and many more from the Vanguard newspaper.
From the Punch, Nigeria wants to imprison Kanu without trial, U.S. lawyer writes Ohanizi. Ex-head of service says parents, alumni, government can eradicate cultism in Ogun schools. Okada ban begins today. Lagos deploys more boats. Plateau worker killed during street fight. Police nab suspect family. Lagos worker loses hand in factory accident. Firm blames victim. U.S. grants Adeosun's foundation non-profit tax-exempt status. Shea Husani says, getting 2 votes at PDP primary was surprising. I thought I would score 0. A bit of comic relief here. Also, Methodist prelate says, kidnappers showed us decomposing bodies. Church paid 100 million naira ransom. To think that the House of Assembly is looking to ban ransoms, or rather punish ransoms as a crime. And that's what freed the Methodist prelate in this instance. We're helpless. Abducted train passengers, families lament. Lagos International Airport runway light collapse. Pilots warn ban. Moving over now to Premium Times newspaper. From Premium Times, APC presidential primary. Okorocha released on bail. Screened. Supports consensus candidates. Governor Mohammed may pick PDP governorship ticket as party's candidates in Bauchi withdraws from race. APC governors meeting deadlocked after Buhari's stance. Tambuwal set to claim Senate ticket after presidential primaries. How Buhari's associates, relatives were defeated in APC primaries. On 2023, I want to pick my successor. Support me, Buhari tells APC governors. APC governors in closed-door meeting after Buhari's stance on presidential candidates. Lagos 2023, APC Appeal Committee resolves governorship petition. SDP faction picks ex-senator as presidential candidate. Yesterday was World No Tobacco Day, and that was our issue of the day. According to an official, tobacco industries cost world 8 million lives, 600 million trees annually. How APC barred journalists from covering senatorial primaries in Ekiti. All Bauchi incumbent senators lose their primary elections. APC Presidential Screening Committee screens Oshibajo, Akpabio, others. I think we'll stop on this note and get on with the analysis.
All right, let's start with this one, and it's from Lagos, where we have that 2 people have been confirmed dead and 23 rescued as building collapses in Lagos State. And I'm trying to look at the area that this happened. Ebute Meta, that's where it happened in Lagos. So far, 22 males have been rescued and 1 female, a male and female each, have been reported dead. I mean, Lagos just seems to be synonymous with building collapses. I mean, can more be done to avert dangers and even more mishaps like this? And bearing in mind that some of these structures have been erected long time ago, and that a whole lot of them, even in Ogun State here, you know.
Oh, well, I think it still boils down to corruption in the system. We're not doing things the right way. And that is why things like this will keep recurring. I want to tell you that this is so, it's so pronounced around the Ebute Meta. Because when you look at some of these structures, some of them were erected 150 years ago without having the requisite foundation for even just a story building. And some of them have been taken up to 3-4 story buildings now. And because of the economic benefits it attracts. So at the end of the day, who do you blame? That's the question. I think the government knows what to do, but they're not doing it. As I have said, corruption has been the bane of our society. Those in charge, we should have told them, look, this is not meant to go beyond a story. We'll give them permit for 4, approval for 4 or 5. So without taking cognizance of the effect on human lives. And so I think the government has a role to play in this. The government has not done enough, and they need to do what is expected of them.
How about from the perspective of the people who just want to short circuit the system? I mean, you think about someone who wants to be a landlord or a house owner where he wants to put the apartment out for rent and feels okay to accommodate more people. Well, maybe this is also more significant in Lagos, or you find it more in Lagos because of the constraint for space and all of that, where you're supposed to have a structure that would house, or that would house a certain number of people, and then because you think, okay, no space, let's expand it and have more people, which ultimately endangers lives. How about from the perspective of the people?
Any human being, any individual will always want to maximize his or profit. An average person in Nigeria believes the government has not taken care of me, so I need to do something to take care of myself. So you'll find people cutting corners in a situation in a country where the government has not been responsible enough. So the onus is on government agencies saddled with the responsibility of monitoring all these activities to up and say, no. Individuals will keep doing it because they want to make money. They want to survive. The government is not providing for their needs. So it is the government that will do the needful by ensuring that agencies that have been saddled with these responsibilities of monitoring these atrocities should come up and do something.
All right, let's come now to Ogun State, where a former head of service in Ogun State and the national president of the Egba High School Students Association, Larry Bisiriu, has said the ways to tackle cultism in the states are multifaceted and will involve efforts of parents, alumni association, as well as the government. He said while the government is trying to play its role, the Old Students Association and the school management must help to solve the menace of cultism in primary and secondary school. This issue of cultism in Ogun State, well, until we maybe find a lasting solution, I guess it's a story that's never going to go out of fashion. What are your thoughts on his take?
Well, I think he's made a good point. But the point is, let us look at where we were yesterday, where we are today, and what is going to happen tomorrow. I think we have lost our values. And that is why we see, in those days, you hardly hear of cultism, even in the universities. But today, even at the primary school level, primary school pupils are engaged, they are involved in cultism. And now you're talking about the role of the Parents Teachers Association, alumni associations, and all the rest. I attended Premier Grammar School at Belkuta. In our days, things like this were not happening. And today, Premier Grammar School is one of the schools that are notorious in terms of cult activities. And you begin to wonder, why? How did we get to this level? My set, 1983 set, we organized a workshop. We went to them. And when you look at see the attitude of these students, even the teachers were not in control. They weren't respecting their teachers. Their parents were not doing enough to ensure sanity within the system. So who do we blame? Who do we ask to remedy this situation? I think the onus is still on the government. The truth is, the government has a larger role to play than the citizens themselves. It is the government that owns these schools. It is the duty of the government to ensure that these people are not engaged in cult activities. I'll give you an example. If the government says today, if a child is found engaged, that child will not only be expelled from school, that child will be taken to remand homes or correctional facilities. We have not seen that in Ogun State. These are things that government should be doing. The moment you are caught